Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CJ Socials. This is a quick wrap up for the post match review for Manchester United versus Wolves. Oh my goodness, I don't know where to start from. For those of you that are watching live, those of you that are watching later, please continue to like, subscribe, and share. We want to keep giving you new content. So, so let's just get started, man. Obviously, it's been a rough couple of weeks. We've been in good form as Manchester United. There's been a lot of games coming in, so I can sort of understand the performance today in the sense that players have not really had that much time to rest. Also, the team has not had that much time to practice tactics. But at the same time, when you kind of look at the game as an overall, it didn't really look like we had that much tactics going on into the game. It was kind of flat. There wasn't really too much. There wasn't really much of any momentum in the game. We saw a lot of slow sideways passing that we're used to seeing, and then you just kind of look at what is the game plan in this game. What was the game plan? And it really makes you question. And I know a lot of us have been very excited about the results that we've had as of late. We've been saying Ole on the wheel. We've been talking about Bruno, and we've been really gassed. But today's performance kind of showed you what is the game plan? Where are we? When we play teams that sit back and let us have the ball, we don't know what to do with the ball. And Wolves is a team that was very organized. You saw that against Tottenham when they played a couple of days ago. You saw how organized Wolves was. You saw how they distributed the ball. You saw how they dominated that game against Tottenham. You would think Ole would be able to create a system in place that allows us to be able to not just have control in the game, but be able to have outlets. We did not have that. We saw the same thing. Bruno trying to force passes. The first half, I'm like, guys, you got to get Pogba on the ball, man. Like, what's going on? Like, I saw so many times whereby we kept trying to play that long ball. We kept trying to force it. I'm like, Maguire, why do you keep trying to lob the ball to Rashford from a defensive line? It makes no sense. We kept taking our midfield players out of the game. And this is where it comes down to, I can't really blame the players. It comes down to coaching. It comes down to systems. And I think for quite some time now, we've had teams that have let us, had a lot of space, and just let us drive at them. And because of that, we've been able to score X amount of goals, and we've been happy, and everyone's been celebrating. But overall, when we watch our football, what are the takeaways? I know, looking at the entire game, I wasn't too upset with the actual lineup. I think Leicester City game, I talked about that in the last podcast. I was upset with the lineup. Today, I wasn't so much upset. I think that was a solid team, similar to the team that started against Everton last week, with a few minor changes. Wan-Bissaka was back. We had and also Rashford was back on the team. But other than that, it was pretty much the same shape. But it's just the way we set up and the way we started. I don't think was that great. I don't think it was that great. There was really nothing anyone was really doing to show that there was a game plan in place. And then by I think it was the 30th minute, I kind of looked and I said, this is a game maybe Martial might need to come in. I know Mason had a good first half, but when you kind of look around the field and you're like, who needs to be taken off right now? You can't take off Bruno because Bruno has been the player that has performed all season. He's been exceptional. So you can't really take Bruno off. Rashford, you can't really take Rashford off because the goal he scored today, yes, it was a deflection, but Rashford, he's going to frustrate you for 90 minutes or for 80 minutes, and then he always has that moment of brilliance that changes the game. And you know what? You can't really complain. Other than that, I don't really see who really did anything today. I think Pogba came alive in the second half just a bit. I know a lot of people are going to be hard on Pogba, but I think it was just our game plan. We just didn't have a plan where we could involve our midfield players. We just kept doing long balls. At some point, I'm like, guys, you need to get this kid involved. You need to get Matic on the ball. You need to get Pogba on the ball. You need to, you know, get these players that can actually not only hold the ball, but they can dictate how the play is going to move forward. So to me, it was just once again, it looked like freestyle football today again. It honestly did. And I know a lot of the Ole in fans are going to be on me. Oh, he's at it again. He's got an agenda. I don't have an agenda. I've always said it. Ole has done a great job with this team so far. He's brought, the personnel that he's brought in, the way he's been able to bring the morale up. I think he's done a great job, but I'm still yet to see that consistency, not just in the results, but also in the performances as well. Because it's time and time again, the same mistakes, the same decision making. He had the like for like subs. He took off Tallis, which I didn't understand why he took off Tallis. I thought Tallis was actually injured. It turns out Tallis was not injured. He felt Luke Shaw has been playing well, and he needed somebody who could go down the flanks because Rashford kept cutting in. You're trying to win a game. You're trying to score goals. Tallis or Shaw. Wolves didn't show me anything in that game that they were that threatening. They didn't show me anything in that entire game that they were, a team that we need to solidify our defense so that way we don't concede. Yes, Saiz had a couple of headers that David De Gea made some good saves on, but other than that, there wasn't really too much to, for us to be taking off Tellers at halftime. You know what I'm saying? And so to me, that's where all this decision making is still questionable. Is why are you making that decision? If we did not win today, I can guarantee you people would be going back on that substitution as to why did you make that sub? Bringing in Martial, I think that was the right decision. That would have been the sub at halftime. I would have taken somebody else off, probably Greenwood, as much as, Greenwood is the easy scapegoat, kind of like when Van der Beek plays. Who's going to get taken off. I think Mason Greenwood had a good game in the first half, but when you kind of look at the overall game and just based on the previous week performances, you kind of say, you know what, Rashford always has a goal in him. Cavani has been doing really well. He's not the kind of player that you want to put on the bench when you need a goal. Bruno has been literally Manchester United all season. So those three players, there's no way you can't even question taking them out. And then obviously if you can't really take Pogba out because Pogba still gives you the stability in midfield. So to me, the easy option would have been Mason Greenwood. You take up Mason Greenwood, and he brings on Martial, takes up Talos, and he brings on Shaw. But we did not see any change in actual formation. We didn't see a change in tactics. It was just like Ola said, you know what? I think you're a better player than Mason, so I'm going to put you on there to show us what you have. That's a team that's trying to get the 3 points. That's not how you play your game. Is you got to, and that's where for me, I keep saying, what is this? Like, what are we doing here? Like, is Ole going to be the guy taking us to the promised land? I don't think so. And I think we're all gassed up right now, but we're going to keep hitting those heartbreaks when it does matter because we don't necessarily have a manager who can make those, tough decisions when it matters. Sometimes it's okay to bench your Luke Shaw. It's okay to have Rashford on the bench sometimes. It's okay. Sometimes we need this team working. The other thing I took out from this game was we got to figure out how to play without Bruno. We seriously have to figure out how to play without Bruno because over the commentator said that in the first half is you can't force every pass to Bruno. You can't force every pass to Bruno. And that's what's been happening right now is we're looking for Bruno. And when you're playing a team like Wolves who 50% of the team is Portuguese, you're going to get found out. And I think that's what's going to keep happening is at some point, Bruno is not a magician. At some point, teams are going to figure out a way to box Bruno out like they did Pogba in previous seasons. Like they've done any player who, when you're a one-man team, teams will figure you out. And that's what happened today. They put a couple of men on Bruno, and Bruno was clueless. He didn't know what to do. Yes, he kept feeding those balls, and he gave us that assist. But overall, there was nothing to write home about the performances that we've seen, as of late, the Leicester City game and then Wolves game. You know, um, I've been saying I'm happy that Ole did not stick to the two holding midfielders today. That was one positive from this game that I will take is we played the Matic and we got the job done. So that makes me question is does Ole does he actually trust Fred or does he not trust Fred? Because why is it that when Matic plays, he plays only Matic as the holding midfielder? But when you have the likes of Fred, he can't just seem to play Fred together, Fred on his own. He has to play Fred and McTominay. And it makes me wonder, like, you got to trust Fred. Now, Fred can do the same job that Matic is doing. Yeah, Fred is not the best ball carrier. He's not the best ball handler, but he's also got that in his game. It's not as good as Matic, but he can do the job, especially when you have the likes of Pogba and Bruno, and maybe once in a while add in Van de Beek. We do have a solid midfield there that we don't need at Fred and McTominay all the time, and that has shown. The last couple of games that Bailly has started, we've had 2 clean sheets out of 3 games that Bailly has started. So I hope that Ole can take some positives out of this and say, as long as Bailly is fit, we shouldn't be seeing a partnership of Maguire and Lindelof together. I don't think we should be seeing that. And also, one thing I noticed too is when you have a midfield like we had in the Everton game, and then we also had today, when you have a midfield of like the likes of your Matic, your Pogbas, your Van de Beeks, your Brunos, take Bruno out, but those 3 that can actually hold the ball, look up, and make a pass. When you have that, our defense is not so heavily pressured because what's been happening late from what I've been watching, our defense has been under so much pressure because when you have the likes of McTominay and Fred sitting in the back, yes, they're good at retrieving the ball. They can retrieve the ball. But what happens to the ball after they retrieve it? They pass it right back to the opposing player. And then we're back at it again, trying to defend. And the last 3 games, the one thing that I've noticed is our defense has looked more comfortable because we now have ball players in the middle of the park that can dictate play and that can move the ball around. So that way, Maguire actually has the freedom and the liberty to go up and make one of those long balls across or do something. But I hope that Ole begins to start realizing that you need ball carriers, you need ball holders in the middle of the park to ease off the pressures of our defense. Because without that, we're going to keep seeing Maguire and Lindelof doing the same thing, making the same mistakes every single day because of the amount of pressure that's on them because the ball does not leave our half. So, the one thing that really pissed me off, like I've been saying, is the long balls. And that long balls just kind of showed me we do not have a game plan in place. We don't have a game plan. Our game plan is just to get the ball, look up, look for Rashford or look for Cavani or, get it to Bruno's feet for him to get his job, for him to figure out a magical pass. And we can't keep doing that. I know, yes, we've gotten away with it because teams have had less quality, but at some point we're gonna be in a stage whereby we need to figure this out. We need to have a system of play. We need to have a pattern of play. When things are not working the way we wanted it to work out, what is the change? How can we see what is Ole telling his players? I can't tell you. So that's really just my rant for this game. I'm really happy that we got the 3 points because that was so crucial for Ole, for the team, and also just for the fans and the table as well, just having that 3 points, because Liverpool dropped points on the weekend. I know they play tomorrow. Tottenham dropped points. Chelsea dropped points again yesterday. And Aston Villa dropped points. So we're seeing Leicester City actually also drop points too. So we're seeing a lot of we're seeing a lot of positives coming on in these games. So I don't want to be too critical and only because we got the 3 points. I'm not going to be that critical, but we as fans, we also have to be critical. We can't just be only on the wheel, positive, positive, positive. At some point, we can back our manager. I'm not an Ole in, but I do believe in backing Ole till the end of the season. I think he's done a fantastic job to keep him till the end of the season. But at the same time, there's a difference between being being supportive and being critical. It's two different things, and I think we need both of that in every game, so that way we can challenge the coach, we can challenge the team, we can challenge the club. We can't just be writing on Twitter, Ole in, Bruno the magnificent. At some point we also have to be critical about their play, about the formations, about the team. But like I said, I can't be too critical on Ole today because we got the 3 points that Liverpool failed to get, Leicester City failed to get, Chelsea failed to get. So that's big going into the new year, that we can end the year second place, 2 points behind Liverpool. That might change tomorrow, but we still have a game in hand. Just in terms of player ratings, I just want to quickly kind of go through that. Um, just looking here at the team that started. So if you're kind of looking just from goalie, David De Gea, I'll give David De Gea a 7 because he definitely had some saves to make today. He made, I think, about 3 or 4 saves in this game that kept us in the game. So I would give David De Gea a 7. Wan-Bissaka, I would give him a 5. I didn't really see anything that Wan-Bissaka did today. We saw the same kind of movement whereby he kept kind of moving to the middle, and I'm like, what are you doing? Every time there was a set piece or there was something, there was an attack. Wolves did have an attack. It looked like Wan-Bissaka was holding Maguire's hand, and it's like, what are you doing? I don't know if that's a tactical thing because he's been doing that in a couple of games this season. He's been doing that a lot, whereby he drifts to the middle, and I'm just kind of figuring out like what's going on. Is this something that Ole's telling you, or is this something that you just feel that you have to do? I don't know, but I'm not liking it. I don't like my wingers, my wide my wing backs to be going too much in the middle. Next up, Eric Bailly. I got to give him a 6.5, Eric Bailly, because he was solid. He was just solid today again. He's showing us why we're officially getting clean sheets. He's the reason for our clean sheets. So I would give him a 7 as well. I would give him a 7 just because, he kept it tidy at the back. I remember there was the one run in the first half when Wolves was we got caught in possession, and Maguire was trying to chase I forget who he was trying to chase down. I think it was Neto he was trying to chase down, and Bailly had just like looked up, and Bailly was already ahead of both Maguire and I think it was Neto or like the Wolves player. So that just shows you the speed that he has, and the discipline that he has, and he knew where to be to retrieve that ball. So to me, that was one play that stood out for me. But just overall, man, I think Bailly has just shown us that he's been solid in the box. He's been solid. He's been a great addition. I just hope he can stay fit, and I hope he doesn't go about doing some ridiculous tackles like he did against Everton. But other than that, I think Bailly needs to be starting games over Lindelof at this point. Harry Maguire, I'll give him a 6. Got the job done. There wasn't really any highlight that I would say that was crazy from Maguire. But the one thing I would say about Maguire is we keep seeing that time and time again, kind of like Wan-Bissaka, who keeps drifting to the middle, is in corner kicks, for corner kicks. Why is Maguire always standing alone? He's a center back. He's our captain. Why is he never on their center forward? Why is he never with a man marking a man? Why is he always man marking space? I just don't get it. Like, you look at all the top center backs in the world, whether it's Sergio Ramos, Van Dijk, you never see them in the box during a corner, standing next to the goalie without a player, without them holding the player or tracking the player. And that's one thing that really gets me really upset and gets me concerned with Maguire is just the way that he, it's like he's telling everybody else, hey, make sure you got your man. I'm just gonna get the scraps. I'm just gonna protect. That's not what a center back does in set pieces. That's not your job. But Ole seems to be okay with that. It worries me. But Alex Telles, I'll give him a 5 just because he only had 45 minutes to play. I think Ole was very unfair to take him out, and we've seen this time and time again with certain players. Ole is extremely unfair and has been very harsh in how he judges certain players and how he takes certain players out of games, and or he leaves players out of games. This is the second game that we haven't seen Van de Beek play. So I don't know what the game plan is with Ole, but right now he's riding the train and things are going well for him. So he really has no business answering those questions because everything is going well. I'll say Telles was a 5. Every time he's on the field, I think we have better attacking plays than when we have Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw is a better defender, but in games like this where we need to score goals and we need to be going up, I think Telles is your guy. Coming on to Matic, CDM. Matic, I would say, was probably one of our best players on the field too. Kept things clean, kept it tidy. At some point, I wasn't sure if we were playing 5 at the back because I saw him a lot of times picking the ball up from really deep. So, but I would say I would give Matic a solid 7. I think he deserved a 7 in this game. Just from, he seemed quiet, but, he put out all the fires that we had. So I can't complain on that. So going up to Paul Pogba, I'll give Pogba a 6 as well, just because I know a lot of people are going to be hard on Pogba today because he wasn't really much on the ball per se. I think his defending was solid today. I think he defended well. There were moments in the game where he could have been a bit more in it and asked for the ball a bit more. But I think he's kind of leaving that role now to Bruno. You can kind of tell that, Pogba used to be one of our most vocal players, and now, as of late, he's been performing well. But you've just kind of seen that he's just really about he just wants to play his football, and I like that from Pogba. He just wants to play his football. I think he's been damaged from the media, the fans. And I think he's just in the point where he just needs to just play his game. This was definitely better than the Leicester City game, but it wasn't one of his best games that I've seen him play. But I don't think he had a foot wrong in the game. He completed most of his passes. I think he had like an 80-something% pass accuracy. He kept it simple. He kept his game simple today. I know a lot of times people don't like that because he kept it simple, but a lot of times you just need to keep it clean, keep it, a lot of times when we play too quick, we get very scrappy, and in games like these, you get punished. I was happy that he did his job defensively as well, and he kept it solid. So I would say I'll give him a 6. I know a lot of people are going to be hard on him today. A lot of the Pogba haters are going to find something to say about how he was non-existent in the game, but I think a few of the plays that he did, I think he definitely did he wasn't our best player, but I think he did okay. Um, Moving on to, I guess we'll do the wingers. Mason Greenwood. Um, Mason Greenwood. That's a hard one too. I'll say I'll give Mason a 6 as well. I'll say Mason was in. I think he had the first half was his better half, and then I think the game just kind of drifted away from him the moment I think Wolves got more ball possession. I think there was a part in from like the end of the first half to huge parts of the second half when Wolves just basically took over the game and we were in the back foot. They had, I think it was 10 attempts, 5 shots on target, right? So I think at that point, Mason kind of drifted a bit, but overall, I'll give him a 6 for what he's done. I think Mason is the kind of player that we need to be on the front foot. We need to be attacking teams, and that's when he shines. But when we don't have the ball, Mason is not really effective. We don't really see the best of Mason. Um, Bruno Fernandez, I know he's probably going to be a lot of people's man of the match between him and Rashford because of the assist and the goal. They were both involved in yet again another United goal and assist, and kudos to him and bravo. But just if you're gonna do player ratings in terms of just overall performance, I'll give him a 6 as well. If I'm gonna give Pogba a 6, I'll give Bruno a 6. There was really nothing to write home with his play. He had the long ball in the dying moments of the game that managed to get to Rashford's foot, and Rashford was able to convert that, even though there was a deflection. But at the end of the day, it was a solid 3 points, and I can't be negative about that. So I'll give Bruno a 6. We saw his usual. The stats are not out yet, but I think he's probably going to be up there for possession lost, right? But that's it with Bruno. That's what that's the frustrating part of Bruno, is you got to take it for what it is. Yeah, he's going to frustrate you as well, kind of like Rashford. They'll frustrate you for 80 minutes and they pull out a piece of brilliance, a moment of brilliance, or a moment of magic. And then we all forget about how crap they've been all game. So Bruno will say 6. I know someone was commenting on Rant's show about how, Bruno's been poor today. I think Bruno has been poor for a long time. He's just been, he's been poor, but he's been effective. You know what I mean? And I think that's, people kind of get that confused sometimes. He's just been very effective in his game, when it really mattered. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can't take that away from him. So yeah, so I would give Bruno a 6. Rashford, I would give Rashford a 5. Even though he scored the goal, Rashford was just non-existent in that game. I'll give him a 5, even though he scored the goal. It was amazing, but I got to give him a 5. I don't think he was, if anything, if I was to pick Mason or Rashford to have come off in that game, I would say Rashford. Rashford could have come off in that game, but it's one of those, it's a hard one, right? Because like I said, when you have the likes of Bruno, Rashford, and Cavani who can always have a goal or an assist in them, it's hard to take them out no matter how crappy they're playing. They'll always give you, I feel like they'll always give you something. They'll always give you something. So they'll always give you something. Yeah. They'll always give you something. So yeah, like I said, Rashford, I'll give Rashford a 5. Cavani, I'll give Cavani a 5 as well, because Cavani, same thing. He didn't really have much service. He didn't have much service today. I think half the service went to Rashford, and we all know what happens when Rashford gets the ball. He loses it, or he tries to take on 10 men, and so I think sometimes the way Rashford plays affects Cavani's game. And it's one of those, just like how we've talked about Maguire and Eric Bailly together. I think, Martial and Cavani play better together because they feed off each other. Martial is someone who can lay off passes. He can, I think Rashford just takes away from everybody else's game, when he's up front because he's trying to do everything on his own. And sometimes that's not fair on a striker like Cavani, who is open half the time waiting for you to just slide in the pass or slide in the cross. So I'll give Cavani a 5, and it's not because he didn't help us out. There were times whereby I saw him at right back defending. So that shows that he had a good game, just not he wasn't effective to the point where I was going to give him over a 5. So yeah, so I don't know the subs that came on. Luke Shaw came on. I don't think Luke Shaw did anything better than Tallis did. I think that was just a waste of a sub when you have the likes of Van der Beek on the bench. To me, that was just, we're at Christmas, we're at New Year, and we're still talking about when Van der Beek is going to have a good run of games. Like, I don't get it. Like, the Luke Shaw and Tallis sub was bunkers, man. It just did not make sense. Like, it was just, Ole made no sense in that sub when you have the likes of Van der Beek on. It's just sad to watch. It's sad to watch. But like I've said, Ole's doing well, so you can't really question his decisions. Martial came on. I'll say Martial. I'll give Martial a 5 as well. If I'm going to give Rashford a 5, I'll give Martial a 5. I think we had a bit more threat with Martial coming on. As much as a lot of United fans hate, always have to criticize Martial on this, but it's that physical presence. There's just something about having players like Martial that is just a nightmare for defenders. The way he runs at players, his quick feet. I know today he kept, his control was off today. I don't know what was wrong with today, but his control was off. But typically, man, Martial just gives you a different dimension. He might not be scoring goals, but he adds a lot to the team. He involves Cavani. He involves Bruno. He involves Pogba. He involves a team. And I think that's where, for me, that's where Martial, even though he might not be scoring, he's still an asset to this team of just the plays that he makes, the runs, And every time he's on that ball, defenders just hate it because if he's in that 18-yard box, that he could be getting a penalty. He could be getting a penalty. So those are the kind of plays that you always want on the field. They might not score you goals, but they'll always give you something. They're always a threat. And, Scott McTominay came in, but, I'm not even going to rate Scott McTominay because he came in, I think it was after we scored the goal. So I'm not even going to give, I'll just give him a base 4 just because it wasn't his fault. He showed up just to basically kind of close up shop. So I'm not really going to rate him like that. But overall, Ole's rating, I'll give Ole a 5 in this game, man. I'll give Ole a 5. And I'll give Ole a 5. Actually, you know what? I'll bump it up to a 6. I'll bump it up to a 6 because of the team selection today. That's the only reason I'm bumping it up to a 6 because it showed that he was trying to, play positive, try to be positive today with the formation that he had. I mean, the team selection that he had. We didn't see the typical Fred and McTominay pivot. As long as I don't see that Fred and McTominay pivot and I don't see the James, I'm all good. But overall, man, I don't know what your takes are. Please leave your comments below. Just a takeaway, man. What do you guys feel about the partnership up front? I think at some point, we need to now figure out the partnerships up front. We're beginning to figure out the partnerships at the back with Maguire and Eric Bailly. I think up front now, we got to start figuring out a partnership. This Rashford plays one day, Martial plays the next. At some point, Ole's got to figure it out, man. He's got to figure it out. From my opinion, I think Martial and Cavani give you a better balance up front. But I'm not a fan for benching Rashford because Rashford still has goals in him. So it's one of those whereby I think for a bit, man, we might have to sacrifice Mason Greenwood and just say, you know what, Rashford, keep your game simple. And I think Ole needs to tell Rashford that. Keep your game simple. You don't always have to drive at players. You don't always have to take a man on. You don't always have to take a shot. Sometimes just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. And I think if if Rashford can keep his game simple, man, the sky's the limit for that kid. The sky's the limit. But he needs to start learning when to pass, when to shoot, when to hold the ball, to invite players in. And right now, he doesn't have that. So, but yeah, but I think just overall, man, I think Martial just makes Cavani better. And when he's on the field versus Rashford and Cavani, I feel like every time it's just Rashford and Cavani's out the game. He's out of the game because between Rashford and Greenwood, they keep trying to score a goal. So, but anyways, I'm not going to keep ranting. That was just my score prediction. I'm sorry, not my score prediction, my post-match review. Overall, it was an okay game. I think people would have been really, really dissatisfied if we didn't come out with 3 points. But you know what? The 3 points saves it, man. The 3 points is what saves the day. As much as we could complain all day, we got the 3 points. So I don't care if we play with an arm and a leg. We got a penalty. We got the 3 points. We're second in the league, 2 points away from Liverpool, with a game in hand. I cannot remember the last time that we've been in this position. So, apart as much as I can be negative and critical, I gotta say this has been good. This has been really good for us this season. And I just hope that Ole can see that. And I hope that Ole is telling his players that, you know what, we had a 3-year plan. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes a 3-year plan could turn out to be a 5-year plan. But sometimes it could end up being now. Sometimes that 3-year plan could just end up being now. You know what I mean? Like sometimes how it's just one of those things, like whether it's in sales or in relationships, sometimes what you're thinking in your head and how you've planned it out doesn't always work out that way. And I just hope that Ole can not only tell these players, we can also see it in his team formation and his tactics and the kind of team he's bringing out. And I hope we can see that. And maybe then we can start saying that we're title challengers. But if Ole keeps making these questionable subs, questionable lineups, no change in tactics when things are not going our way, then I don't know. I don't know if I'm comfortable enough to say that we are title contenders. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if I can say that. But overall, man, for those of you that are watching, are going to watch, please like, share, and please subscribe to the channel. Really means a lot to us to just continue to give you good content. And hopefully we can get, you guys coming on the show to drop your opinions as well. But other than that, man, it's 3 points in the bag. We made it happen. Let the Reds go marching on. And till next time, see you guys. Take care.